Incredible discovery. Soldier and his K9 uncovered the touching truth behind a little girl's fears. Jake stepped out of the diner and into the brisk Midwestern air. It scent familiar yet foreign. The soft hum of children playing in the park filled his ears, mingling with the distant laughter and the clatter of dishes inside. This was home, but it felt like a ghost town since he'd returned from his deployments. Time had slipped through his fingers as memories of warfare clawed at him relentlessly. He rubbed the back of his neck, trying to shake off the weight of it all. Here, in this quaint town, he wanted to find respite, to reconnect with his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, who had become a silhouette of the joyful child he once knew. Every time he glanced at her, the tight knot in his chest grew tighter. The vulnerable look in her eyes unnerved him. Lily flinched at sounds that had once brought her joy: bicycles zooming by, dogs barking, and even the jingle of the ice cream truck. They walked together along the familiar sidewalks, their shoes crunching on colorful leaves, but each step felt heavier. She'd never been the type to shy away from anything: shadows, darkness, or even the stray dogs that now sent her spiraling into a whispering panic. Jake's heart sank deeper at the thought. Was he responsible for this? Had the war stolen not only his spirit but hers as well? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As they navigated the neighborhood, Jake took note of how Lily's eyes darted at the mere sight of a stray dog roaming nearby. He could sense her tension through the clenched grip on his hand. It was as if her innocence had been stripped away, exposing raw fear instead. Jake felt a familiar twist in his gut. He had faced enemies lurking in shadows. How could he confront this invisible terror plaguing his daughter? Memories of regrets and missed milestones echoed loudly in his mind, nagging at him. He wanted to reach out, to bridge the chasm that had formed between them, yet the more he tried, the more uncertain fear crept in. Would it scare her more if he revealed the ghosts haunting him? Each moment of silence thickened the air, making it hard to breathe. He kept Rex, his loyal K9 companion, close, thinking his calming presence might soothe Lily, but even that felt like a fragile lifeline. And then there was the neighborhood tension surrounding the stray, whispers of removal echoing among local parents. Jake's shoulders tensed at the thought of uprooting a dog that had merely lost its way, much like he had. Yet, what if the dog was a catalyst for Lily's healing? The pull of community expectations and incidentally his own upbringing gnawed at him. Was standing for what was compassionate worth risking more scorn? In that moment, standing with Lily at a crossroads of fear and hope, Jake felt time grind to a halt. He needed to decide, would he allow the shadows of family stigma and societal rejection to dictate his path, or would he confront them, bearing open the wounds that chained them? As he looked into Lily's frightened eyes, a deeper fear wrapped around his heart. What if his attempt to save her led to their complete unraveling? The shadows tightened their grip, whispering lies that tumbled in a whirlwind of anguish around them. The struggle had only just begun, and Jake wondered if they would emerge whole, or fragmented like his memories from war. Jake could feel the weight of the world hanging over him as he and Lily stood by the park's edge, the shadowy specter of the stray dog looming in the background. The rustle of fallen leaves felt foreign, an unwelcome reminder of the echoing desolation that had seeped into their lives. The vibrant hues of the autumn scenery couldn't mask the darkness that seemed to cling to him and his daughter. As he looked at the way Lily shifted on her feet, tracing patterns in the dirt with her shoe, Jake was struck by the desire to protect her. Yet, could he shield her from the very fears he suffered himself? Glancing at Rex, who stood faithfully beside them, Jake realized that his canine companion might just be the bridge he needed. Rex had a particular gentleness about him, the kind that could coax a timid heart back into the light. But could he harness that as a tool to help Lily confront her fears? Driven by a flicker of hope, Jake took a calculated breath and knelt down to Lily's level. "Hey, kiddo," he started cautiously, catching her attention. "Why don't we hang out with Rex for a bit? He loves playing fetch. Would you help me?" Lily's eyes, wide with uncertainty, searched his face for a hint of assurance. The corners of her mouth quivered slightly, the battle between trust and fear evident. Just as Jake prepared to retreat, she mouthed a tentative "okay." Her embrace of vulnerability stirred something deep within Jake, a resolve that had long been buried beneath chaos. They began to walk together toward a secluded part of the park where the stray was often spotted, Rex trotting ahead like a sentry. Each step felt monumental. Jake's heart raced, and he chided himself for how he had previously distanced himself from confronting this fear. As they arrived, he saw the dog in the distance, wary but curious. Jake thought about how both Lily and the stray shared a common struggle, both misunderstood, craving understanding and companionship. "Rex?" he called softly, sending the dog bounding forward to greet the stray. The action seemed like a catalyst, it stirred a reaction in Lily. She stepped closer to him, her small hand reaching instinctively for his as Rex approached the other dog, tail wagging cautiously. Jake could feel the slight tremor in her grip. In that heartbeat, he contemplated whether to shield her from horror or allow her to witness a new reality. As the two dogs met, the tension in the air shifted. Jake saw how the stray's wary posture began to relax, influenced by Rex's friendly disposition. It mirrored the shift in Lily. He could see her curiosity mingled with the fear still lingering beneath the surface. Would this moment challenge her preconceived notions of danger? He had no answers. He only felt the primal urge to guide her, to show her that connections could transform trepidation into strength. "See, Lily? Sometimes it just takes a little trust," he said, his voice a gentle guide through her fears. She leaned in, her face painted with a mix of bewilderment and wonder. The moment expanded, wrapping them in a fragile cocoon of hope. Glimmers of understanding washed over him. This might be the start of something profound, a path not just toward healing for Lily but recovery for himself as well. But Jake knew the fragility of this breakthrough didn't negate the battles still to come. He would need to confront not only Lily's fears but also the darkness that lingered within him. As the two dogs began to play, creating a symphony of joyful barks and wagging tails, Jake felt a flicker of determination ignite in his chest. Perhaps confronting those shadows head-on could lead to clarity for both of them. Still, the thought of unveiling his own struggles loomed large. Would sharing his pain offer her strength, or would it intensify her fears? In that moment, he knew he was standing at a pivotal juncture. The time had come to face not only the fears of his daughter but the haunting aspects of his past. A decision needed to be made, and the thought of it sent an electric shiver down his spine. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, an unfamiliar light glimmered on the horizon of their journey. What if, instead of unraveling, they could stitch together a new beginning, strengthening their bond in the process? With a firm resolve beginning to anchor him, Jake squeezed Lily's hand a little tighter, feeling the warmth of her small fingers against his palm. The time for transparency was drawing near. Would he find the courage to share what haunted him, or would he continue to remain shackled to the shadows, fearing the light? As the last rays of sunlight filtered through the trees, Jake felt an unusual sense of clarity wash over him. This was no longer just about facing the stray dog or even helping Lily conquer her fears. It was a call to redefine their shared reality. Each breath felt charged, alive with the possibility of regrowth and understanding. "Let us sit for a minute," he suggested, guiding Lily to a nearby bench. Rex flopped down at their feet, a silent guardian content to soak in the moment. He could see the tension in Lily's shoulders gradually ease as she watched the dogs continue their playful antics, their laughter translating into barks and growls. It sparked something in her, and he hoped it would transfer into her spirit. "Do you want to hear a secret?" he asked, leaning closer to her. It was a tactic he often used, drawing her into his world with the allure of intimacy. He could feel the weight of his own secrets welling up, wondering if sharing some of them might lighten the burden he carried alone for too long. "Okay," she whispered, her eyes wide with curiosity, a soft smile breaking through the remnants of her anxieties. "Rex wasn't always my dog," he began, watching her reaction. "I met him when I was really struggling. I had a lot of things weighing on me, just like you do sometimes." His heart raced. This was the vulnerable step he needed to take. "He helped me feel safe when I felt lost. Just like I hope he helps you feel safe now." Lily's brows furrowed for a moment. "Why were you lost?" Jake hesitated, questions circling within him. This moment was critical, a chance to forge a deeper connection, but it also had the potential to reinforce her fears. He decided to choose honesty over fear. "I went through a tough time that was pretty hard to bear," he admitted, feeling the words scraping against the walls he had so carefully constructed. "I lost my way, but I learned that sharing what I felt made it easier, you know? Sometimes we hide from things that make us cry, thinking it will hurt us more. But when I started to talk about my pain, I realized it didn't control me anymore. It actually helped me get stronger." Lily listened intently, the flicker of understanding brightening her hazel eyes. She seemed to weigh his words, perhaps processing the implications of sharing vulnerability. It struck him that her journey mirrored his own. The walls they had both built around their hearts were constructed from fear and misunderstanding. "Do you think I should be brave like that too?" she asked, a hint of uncertainty lacing her voice. "Not brave the way you think," he said gently. "Bravery is not the absence of fear. It's knowing it exists but not letting it stop you from moving forward." As he spoke, Jake realized that he was unearthing his own resolve as much as he was fostering hers. His breath caught as he considered how many moments had been trapped within him, waiting for the right catalyst to release them into the light. "Can I tell you something else?" Jake continued, steeling himself for what was next. "I'm scared of that stray dog too. I don't know if he'll hurt us or if he'll even want to play. But what we discovered today is that taking a small step like letting Rex greet him might show us that he just wants to be friends. You and I are more alike than we think." A spark of excitement coursed through him as he realized he had set the tone for a massive shift. It was a simple act of connection between a father and daughter, between pain and healing. Lily's gaze drifted toward the two dogs playing, and he could see the wheels turning in her mind. "What if he hurts Rex?" she asked, her brows knitting together again. "All we can do is find out," Jake replied, a newfound confidence bubbling within him. "But standing still in fear won't help any of us grow. We need to choose action over doubt." As the shadows of the park extended into dusk, Jake felt a sense of hope unfurling like a flower daring to peek through hardened soil. He had suggested a path not only for Lily but for himself, underscoring the necessity of confronting fears, both shared and personal. In that sacred space filled with whispered vulnerabilities, he recognized a pivotal need to take the next step. Staring into the horizon, he wondered if tomorrow would bring about the courage to introduce Lily to the stray dog. Could that single moment change everything? But would courage be enough to break the chains of the past, or would the darkness still reign? The question loomed large, a tantalizing challenge waiting for resolution. With dawn's early light spilling through the curtains, Jake woke with an uneasy heart. The promise of the previous day's progress felt like an illusion, fading in the harsh reality of morning. Today was the day he would confront the stray dog, and the thought twisted knots in his stomach. Why was he still so afraid? He went through the motions of morning routines, but each task felt infused with an underlying tension. Rex would scratch at the door, sensing Jake's inner turmoil, his own vibrant energy a reminder of innocence and trust. How could Jake summon the courage he had inspired in Lily when he felt himself faltering? "Today we face the dog, buddy," he murmured, as Rex tilted his head, looking up at him with those keen, understanding eyes. Driving to the park, Jake's thoughts spun in circles. What if the stray dog was aggressive? What if Rex got hurt? But these questions were as futile as they were familiar, echoing the very fears he had discussed with Lily. Reaching the park, Jake parked and stepped out, his heart racing. He had promised Lily strength and companionship, but what if he faltered in the moment he was needed the most? He took a deep breath, drawing on the resolve he'd shared with her. Bravery isn't the absence of fear. Moments later, he spotted Lily approaching, an excited mixture of determination radiating from her. Something in her expression stirred a deeper awareness within him. She was learning to confront her fears head-on, and that realization invigorated him. "I'm ready, Dad," she declared, her small frame poised with a sense of purpose that reminded him of Rex when he was about to pounce into play. In that moment, Jake recognized something profound. He was no longer just a father guiding a child, they were partners in growth, and his fears mattered just as much as hers. "Okay, let us do this," he said, nodding toward the field where the stray dog often lingered. As they approached, Jake felt a tightening sensation in his chest. Every step forward brought with it a flood of doubt. What would happen if they were met with aggression instead of curiosity? "Remember," he explained to Lily, "we'll have Rex lead the way. He'll introduce us, and we'll stay calm." They moved cautiously toward the designated area, where the remnants of a picnic lay strewn across the grass. The stray was there, a scruffy golden mutt eyeing them with a mix of caution and intrigue. Jake felt another wave of fear wash over him, this time squeezed through the lens of responsibility. A frightful curiosity sparked within him. Would this dog reciprocate kindness or lash out in self-defense? As Jake knelt beside Rex, he whispered, "It's okay, boy. You've got this." Rex seemed to understand the gravity of the situation, moving confidently toward the stray with a wagging tail. Lily watched wide-eyed, her small fingers gripping Jake's arm. "What if he doesn't want to play?" she asked, voice laced with uncertainty. Jake took another steadying breath, focusing on their shared journey. "Then we respect his space. But we'll never know until we give him a chance." Suddenly, the stray dog uncurled, taking a hesitant step forward. Jake's heart hammered. The moment of truth lay bare before them, neither of them truly prepared but fully aware that their fears coexisted with their choices. And there it was, a glimmer of hope in Rex's friendly posture and the stray's curious sniff. Jake watched as the two dogs danced around each other, uncertainty gradually giving way to cautious exploration. But within Jake, a revelation grew, sparking connections to his past. It was not just fear that had held him back, it was the unresolved pain, the hurt that still clung to him, refusing to release its grip. Until now, perhaps. As the dogs finally engaged in a friendly game of chase, Jake felt the tight knot in his chest begin to loosen. This was their moment, a shared truth cracking seeds of change within him. Parallels of strength and vulnerability wove through his veins. He wasn't just a father leading his daughter, he was also a man on the brink of personal growth. Jake cast a sideways glance at Lily, who stood transfixed, eyes sparkling with tentative delight as she watched the play unfolding before them. He felt a softening within him, a realization that his journey toward self-discovery was intertwined with Lily's. But just when he thought they had taken a step toward healing, a low growl emanated from the stray, breaking Jake's moment of triumph. Tension surged back. Would they lose everything they had dared to build? The reality of their situation loomed large, and both father and daughter realized they were standing on the edge, about to confront not just the stray dog, but their own deeper fears. Would the instinct for recovery withstand the shadows of uncertainty, or would doubt seed discord once again? Jake's heart sank at the low growl, an instinctive fear tightening its grip around his chest. He exchanged a glance with Lily, whose bright anticipation had dimmed to caution, reflecting the changing dynamics before them. For a brief moment, he considered retreating, thought about easing back and avoiding the confrontation altogether. But ignorance felt like a heavier burden than facing the uncertainty. "Stay steady, Lily," he whispered, trying to keep his tone calm. It was as much an encouragement for her as it was a reminder for himself. He focused inward, seeking that dwindling flame of confidence. "We're not here to force anything. If he is scared, we respect that. Just like we talked about. Lily nodded slowly, her little fingers still clenched around his. Her trust in him wrestled against the pulse of anxiety thrumming inside both of them. He watched as Rex lowered himself, his body language signaling openness, tail wagging in a slow, deliberate arc. The stray dog continued to growl, but its posture shifted from one of aggression to uncertainty. Jake took a cautious step forward. "Let us show we mean no harm," he said, lowering himself to one knee, eyes level with the stray. "Hey there, buddy. It's okay." Through a thin veil of dread, Jake found himself confronting not just the dog, but the shadows of his own fears, the fear of failing to protect both Lily and Rex, the fear of vulnerability, and the fear that he was never quite enough. The stray sniffed the air, its growl faltering into a low whine. Jake felt a flicker of hope igniting within him, but he knew he had to remain vigilant. Every muscle in his body prepared for the worst, an unexpected bite or a frenzied escape. But instead, he felt something shifting. "Can you feel it, Rex?" he murmured, glancing at his dog, who held steady and calm in the presence of potential danger. He remembered what it was like to trust, how freeing it felt to release control and allow genuine connection. Wasn't that what he was doing right now, not just with the stray but also with Lily? "I think he needs to trust us, just like you've learned to trust me," Jake said gently to her. "Let us give him a little time." With that thought anchored in his heart, Jake slowly extended his hand toward the stray. It was a movement saturated with uncertainty, yet resolute. He felt Lily's grip on his arm ease. It wasn't just the dog they were trying to reach, they were inviting each other to join in this experience of mutual understanding. The stray sniffed Jake's fingers, its growl softening further, the tension beginning to slip away. Slowly, he felt the weight of a shared space, one where fear could coexist with trust. The ground beneath him shifted, not just physically but emotionally. This act of reaching out mirrored his own journey toward letting go of the past. What did it mean to connect when fear lurked right at the edges? Jake was awakened to the realization that they were not just moving closer to the stray but also inching toward shedding their own insecurities. The stray, no longer merely an object of dread, became a symbol of change, a reflection of vulnerability that Jake recognized within himself. As Rex licked the stray's face in a friendly gesture, the growl evaporated, replaced by a cautious wag from the golden mutt. "See, Lily? They're sharing their kindness," he said, turning his gaze to her, who looked on in awe. For a fleeting moment, accomplishment bloomed in Jake's chest. They had embraced the uncertainty together, this father and daughter, this man and his dog. They had taken another step forward, but Jake knew the battle against inner demons was far from over. The revelation that lay ahead was more than about a timid dog, it beckoned within his own uncharted territory filled with unresolved truths. Just then, amidst the budding interaction, a sudden movement, that rustle of leaves near the trees. Jake's instincts kicked back in. Another dog? A stranger? Or was it merely his imagination working against him? The shadows of doubt remained, lurking still as the growl faded, but something deeper sparked within him. He stood proudly as the moment pressed on. They could face yet another confrontation, pushing them toward revelations they had scarcely considered. "Are you ready for anything else today, Lily?" he asked, heart pounding once again at the prospect. Her eyes brightened with a mix of concern and excitement. "I think so. But what if?" And there it was again, an intersection of fears yet to unfold. Would they not only leave with a newfound connection but also come face to face with deeper truths that would change everything? The rustle grew louder, sharp enough to cut through the fragile atmosphere they had created with the stray. Jake felt his heart race again, adrenaline coursing through him, his instincts blaring in alarm. This moment had shifted, and he could sense that they were on the cusp of something significant. He held his breath, waiting for whatever was lurking just out of sight. "Stay right here, Lily," he said as he rose to his feet. He ventured toward the noise, feeling the weight of responsibility bearing down on him. He could feel Lily's eyes on him, weaving threads of concern and trust, both relying on him to navigate this unknown. Jake squinted into the thick foliage, every nerve taut with anticipation, the excitement mingling with anxiety. What if this was another scared animal? What if it had another agenda altogether? As he stepped closer, he glimpsed movement, a flash of fur darting behind a tree. In that split second, his mind raced with thoughts about fear, choice, and what obstacles had shaped his past. It was far too easy to revert to anger, to sadness, perhaps that's what had held him back for so long. He took a breath, his pulse steadying. What had he learned with the stray? The truth was starting to seep into his understanding. Fear could be the birthplace of connection, not a barrier. Jake made a decision, then one that felt revolutionary in its simplicity. He chose to approach the situation with the same openness he had extended to the timid dog. "Come on out, buddy. There's no need to be afraid," he called gently into the trees. A moment later, a small creature emerged, an emaciated dog, its coat matted and dull, eyes glinting with trepidation. It was not just any stray, it was an echo of his past, the discarded, the fearful, yet grasping for connection. Jake's heart cracked open in sympathy. He knelt once more, extending a hand, mirroring the gesture from before. "Hey there. You're safe. Let us see if we can help you." The words flowed from him instinctively. He felt Lily inching closer behind him. This time, her presence felt like an anchor grounding him even as emotions washed over him. She mirrored his movements, her small body radiating the trust she had built in him. "Can we help him, Dad?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly yet courageous. Jake turned back slowly, meeting her gaze. Here was yet another chance for growth, not just for the dog but for both of them. "We will try. But it's going to take patience. He might be just as scared as the last one." "Okay," she nodded, determination hardening her features. In that moment, Jake realized that he wasn't just guiding Lily through this encounter but inviting her to grapple with her own fears. Together, they were building a new reality, one filled with possibility. The new dog sniffed at Jake's hand, hesitating, half-crouched as if ready to bolt. As it took one unsteady step forward, Jake recognized that same tentative spirit inside himself, the part that questioned, the part that sought connection but struggled with fear. As the dog inched closer, a bond began to form. Jake fought against the emotional currents threatening to sink him. Now, more than ever, he understood that every interaction could be a stepping stone toward courage. Then, out of nowhere, a loud growl erupted from the bushes nearby, shocking them into inaction. Jake's heart sank anew. The sense of dread clawed at him. Who or what else was waiting in the shadows? "Stay behind me, Lily," he instructed sharply, shifting his body to shield her. He felt a surge of protectiveness, and in that protective stance, a flicker of resolution ignited. Confrontation loomed, and Jake understood. The outcome of this moment could change the trajectory of all they had been working toward. He was not just facing an external threat but a challenge that mirrored his own struggles. Could he accept vulnerability without letting fear dictate his actions? As the noise intensified, something in him awakened, a fierce determination overriding the previous waves of uncertainty. "Together, we will face it," he whispered, feeling that newfound connection with Lily and the stray, a network of shared strength. But as the growl harmonized with an approaching silhouette, Jake braced himself. Fear was no longer just a trepidation, but a call to action. "Let us go," he said, his voice steady. "We can handle whatever comes next." The path ahead was shadowy, but Jake felt the certainty settle within him as they faced what lay just beyond the trees. As the darkness thickened around them, Jake's breath quickened. The silhouette emerged with sharp edges, a snarl outlined against the dim foliage. It was a dog, a massive creature dominated by muscle and an aura of fierce protectiveness for its territory. Jake's mind raced, weighing danger against the hope he had nurtured in the last moments. "Lily, stay close," he commanded, instinct drawing his body into a more defensive posture. He could feel her trembling behind him, a torrent of anxiety bubbling just beneath the surface of her facade of bravery. A reminder of his own youthful fears washed over him, memories of isolation and a longing for security that had haunted him through life. The growling dog advanced, its gaze locked on the trio in a mixture of curiosity and caution. It seemed to perceive Jake as a threat to its vulnerable companion, the stray he had just endeavored to help. Jake understood that in doing so, he was not just defending a dog but also reassessing his own instinct to protect. The grown-up he had fought to become now stood at a crossroads. He needed to show strength in the face of fear, yet vulnerability could lead to understanding and connection. "Easy, buddy," Jake coaxed, though he could feel the prickle of adrenaline. Memories of another life flooded through him, the chaos of his past, the mistakes, the fears that had festooned him since childhood. Wasn't he at those very fears that had shaped him into today's version of himself? Just as he felt the primal urge to challenge the larger dog's surface, he noticed Lily inching forward, her small frame exuding a surprising sense of bravery. She took a deep breath, clearly summoning her own courage. "Dad," she said, her voice small yet commanding. "We can't fight. We have to help him." Her words struck Jake like a gust of cool wind that splashed against his previously boiling resolve. Could it be that the lessons he thought he was teaching were being mirrored back to him? He studied her expression, innocent and determined. In that moment, he realized how critical it was for him to embody the emotional strength and openness he intended to impart to her. The growling dog hesitated again, ears flicking back and forth as both fear and curiosity warred within it. "You're right, Lil. Let us show him he doesn't have to be scared," Jake responded, his voice calming, grounding them in this chaotic moment. He took a step forward, positioning himself in the grassy clearing, shoulders back and hand outstretched in a gesture of peace. The stray stood by his side, mirroring his openness, her body brushing against his leg as if she sought to protect him as much as he wanted to protect her. The larger dog growled still, but there was a shift in the air, a sense of vulnerability creeping in as curiosity nudged at hostility. Jake pressed on, hoping to validate Lily's insight. "We come in peace. We're here to help each other." The words felt powerful, yet fragile, like a bridge being built over a chasm of fears. Once more, he glanced at Lily. Her small hands trembled at her side, yet her bright eyes never wavered from the new creature. A newfound sense of purpose bloomed in Jake's chest. They were on this journey together. Every step toward healing had to be made in communion with one another, embracing the fear instead of letting it divide them. Suddenly, the growl shifted to a low whine, and the massive creature took a tentative step back, revealing an underlying fear of its own. Hope flickered in Jake's chest. What if they could break down both walls of insecurity? With trembling hands, Jake lifted the stray's collar gently, offering it a few murmured words of care. "It's okay, girl. Together." He could hear Lily's soft reassurances flowing towards the larger dog. They were creating an environment of safety, constructing an atmosphere where trust could flourish. And yet, as the tension slowly dissipated, Jake's mind churned. This encounter sparked something within him, a realization that he had stifled his own potential for connection due to the weight of his past. Could he, too, step towards the unknown, opening himself up amid fear? As the larger dog hesitated with another cautious step forward, Jake sensed it was a defining moment, one that challenged not only his ambitions but would pave the way for a transformative growth trajectory. What if, he thought, feeling the pulse of anticipation, this could lead to more than just a fleeting moment of bravery? Before he could explore the thought further, a crack of a branch echoed from the nearby underbrush. Something else was lurking just outside their field of vision, a new portent of challenge. Jake braced himself again, feeling the air thicken with suspense, uncertainty tightening its grip. What else awaited them in the shadows? And how would this shift the path they were on? Jake's heart raced, the crack of the branch reverberating through the thick tension in the air. The larger dog, momentarily distracted, turned its head toward the source of the noise, and for a fleeting moment, Jake's focus shifted too. He felt the weight of the situation press against him, as if the forest itself conspired to test his resolve. "What's that?" Lily whispered, her voice a mere breath against the oppressive quiet. Jake's instinct clashed against uncertainty. Somehow, this new element felt more menacing than the stray dog before them. He glanced at Lily, her face now pale, reflecting a hesitation he wished to shield her from. His protective nature surged. He couldn't afford to let fear seep into her spirit. "Stay behind me," he instructed, pushing aside the dread coiling in his gut. The uncertainties of the past converged with the present as he assessed the shadows once more. With cautious movements, still keeping the growling dog in sight, Jake edged toward the sound. His hand gripped the stray's collar tightly, drawing strength from her warmth as though she were a part of him. He sensed that this moment hinged not just on confronting whatever lurked in the dark, but on embracing the vulnerability it exposed in him. Another crack rang out, breaking a nearby branch, this time louder. The silence throbbed with expectation. Jake instinctively prepared himself, recalling countless moments where fear immobilized him in the past. He had learned, through an arduous journey of his own, that moments of profound growth often stemmed from facing the unknown head-on. "Do we stand strong, or do we flee?" Jake muttered internally, battling his old instincts. The haunting echoes of his childhood fears danced through him. The desire to retreat lingered, just as it always had, but another part of him yearned for growth. "Dad!" Lily's voice drew him back to the present, urgency edging her tone. Before he could respond, movement erupted among the underbrush. Embers of worry ignited as a small figure emerged, a scraggly raccoon, its beady eyes reflecting curiosity rather than malice. He exhaled a breath he hadn't realized he was holding, relief flooding through him. Lily giggled softly, breaking the tension that clung to the air like mist. "See? It's just a little one," she said, her confidence rekindled. Jake's chest filled with pride, a feeling grounded in knowing he had faced distraction and fear alongside her, not behind her. In those few moments, he had witnessed her bravely confronting the unknown, a skill he had long wished to model. But as the relief washed over him, another wave of self-awareness crashed in. Just as he had encouraged Lily to move gently and deliberately toward the growling dog, he needed to embody that same principle in confronting his adult fears, the shadows of past mistakes that still taunted him today. The raccoon scurried away, leaving behind only the echoes of laughter and a lingering sense of triumph. Yet, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to unravel in this expedition of self-discovery and connection. "Let us keep moving," Jake said, adopting a posture more determined than before. "We need to find where the path leads." Lily nodded, her small hand now steady in his grasp, a miniature companion on this uncharted journey. As Jake ventured deeper, different thoughts began weaving together like a tapestry. He realized that while he had always tried to shield Lily from life's challenges, he was inadvertently denying her the chance to grow just as he was. Each encounter, every test of courage, both theirs and his, spoke to the transformative potential of vulnerability. But as they pressed onward, the trees loomed denser, the whispers of the forest thickening the air once more. Questions spiraled within him. What truths lay deeper in the shadows? How would the trials not only challenge but also shape them? Suddenly, he sensed a shift in energy, a new weight pressing down. Jake knew with startling clarity that this was not the end of their adventure, but rather a prelude to more formidable tests. Just as the large dog had hesitated before approaching, Jake realized he too was traversing territory he had long avoided, the interplay between fierce protectiveness and the empathy needed to let others face their fears, however daunting they may seem. With an unsettling quickening of the pulse, Jake and Lily moved forward, ready to confront the next shadow looming just beyond their reach. Would they find the strength to face it together? As they continued along the winding trail, the air thickened with anticipation, each step leading Jake deeper into a labyrinth of reflection. He began to wonder how much further they could tread into uncharted territory. A flicker of doubt attempted to creep in, igniting memories of his own early fears and insecurities. But within that uncertainty, a newfound resolve surged. He was no longer merely a protector, he was a mentor, bearing the responsibility not only for himself but for Lily and her burgeoning courage. "Do you hear that?" he asked, straining his ears. The whisper of the wind mingled with distant rustling, a sound that seemed to beckon deeper exploration. "Yeah, it feels different," Lily replied, glancing up at him, her eyes ablaze with curiosity. Jake's heart swelled. This was not just a simple hike, it was an opportunity for both of them to encounter the rawness of nature and navigate their own inner landscapes. But what lay ahead? The question hovered in the back of his mind, a specter refusing to fade. With each stride, he wrestled with the notion of vulnerability. He recognized that while the wilderness would test them, it also held secrets of possibility. Reflecting back on the scene with the raccoon, he saw how Lily had managed to confront her fears. It amplified his own journey. Every moment spent shielding her from challenges was also robbing her of the chance to understand and grow. What scared him more than the wild sounds around them was the prospect that maybe, just maybe, he didn't have all the answers. Accepting that reality was unsettling yet invigorating. He needed to embody the lessons he intended to impart, not just for his daughter but for himself. "Let's climb that hill over there," Jake suggested, pointing toward a rocky ascent. The movement required a push beyond their comfort, much like the emotional terrain they were traversing. "Okay, Dad." Lily chirped with an enthusiasm that filled him with pride. Her spirit echoed the resilience he yearned to cultivate in himself. As they ascended, Jake felt the ground shift beneath them. Each step amplified his awareness, the way the earth gripped their feet, the laboring breaths, the smell of damp foliage enveloping them. The further they went, the greater the weight of his unacknowledged emotions pressed upon him, a mixture of fear, hope, and the desire to be someone worthy of being looked up to. "I used to be afraid of high places," he confided, surprising himself. The admission shrouded in softness, as if stepping into a new light. "But I realized that the view from the top is worth the climb." "Really? But now you're not afraid?" Lily's voice was naive yet profound, compressing years of turbulence into that single inquiry. Jake paused to gather his thoughts. "I learned that fear can be part of strength. It just takes practice to confront it." As he spoke, an inner clarity unfurled, a glimpse of the man he was meant to be. Reaching the top, they stood side by side, taking in the panoramic vista that stretched before them, an expanse of trees cascading toward an infinite horizon. In that instant, Jake realized his vulnerabilities were not weaknesses but rather the scaffolding upon which he could build an unshakable foundation for both himself and Lily. But even in the beauty of that moment, disquiet began to slither through his mind again. A sense of urgency nudged him, as though the forest whispered secrets he hadn't yet deciphered. They had faced their fears together, yes, but there were deeper layers yet to be explored. "Look!" Lily exclaimed, pointing toward the trail. Jake turned to see a small gathering of strange markings etched into a nearby rock. That initial sense of unease returned, tightening around his chest as he considered what it meant. Just as they had emerged from their immediate fears, another mystery unfolded before them. "Let's check it out," he said, his voice steady. The thrill of the unknown called to him, and as he stepped toward it, doubts crashed against his resolve. What hidden truths awaited them? A new level of confrontation was about to begin, one that could change the way he viewed himself, Lily, and the world around them. Would he truly uncover the touchstone of his own resilience within this discovery? Jake and Lily approached the markings on the rock with an unsettling mix of curiosity and anxiety. The gray stone was etched with symbols that looked as ancient as the trees that surrounded them, their meanings obscured just as many of his own feelings had been buried under layers of fear and regret. "Do you think it means something?" Lily asked, her small voice filled with wonder and a hint of trepidation. Jake knelt beside her, brushing away some leaves that had collected around the stone. "Maybe it's a reminder of what came before us," he mused, reflecting on the shadows of his past that echoed in the depths of his mind. In this simple moment, he realized something monumental. Looking at those markings wasn't just about their surface meaning. It was a catalyst for introspection, pushing to confront what lay beneath the surface of his own fears. What had he been hiding for so long? The memories flickered, like shadows retreating to the corners of his mind. They weren't just echoes of his time in combat, they represented the unresolved traumas that bound him in silence. Each symbol represented a moment he let fear dictate his path, and now, here in this forest, he felt shrouded in a newfound determination. "Lily, look at this one," Jake pointed to a deeper indentation, a swirling design that seemed to wrap around another, intertwining without stopping, the kind of connection that mirrored their own journey. "It feels like it tells a story, doesn't it? One that's been crafted over time, just like ours." Lily's eyes sparkled with understanding. "Yeah. It's kinda like dealing with our fears, together." Her innocent insight struck a deep chord inside him. Together. It was what he had fought for, a chance to emerge from the darkness, reclaiming the joy and brightness that life offered, not just for himself but also for her. Taking a deep breath, Jake turned back to her. "You're right, kiddo. Each time we confronted something that scared us, it became a part of our story." He felt lighter, spent strength transforming into resolve. This was their moment to redefine not just the story they were living in, but to embrace the authentic selves they'd hidden from each other and themselves. Lily hesitated for a moment, a flash of concern flickering across her face. "But what if we lose again? What if it hurts, Dad?" Jake knelt once more to meet her gaze, looking deeply into her wide, curious eyes. "What if it does? You know, you have so much courage inside you. It's okay to feel scared. It makes the victory sweeter." Sensing her tension, he added, "And remember, you and I are not alone in this. We have each other just like those markings. Each one is part of the same stone." With newfound clarity, Jake rose, brushing off the leaves and dirt from his knees, purpose radiating from him. He extended his hand toward Lily, inviting her to stand with him. "Are you ready to keep climbing?" he asked, a challenge in his voice, invigorated by the transformation occurring between them. "Yes," she exclaimed, joining him as he led her deeper into the woods, where the light filtered through the trees, illuminating the path ahead. As they walked, Jake began reflecting on how their journey mirrored the wild. Each twist, turn, and moment of uncertainty became an opportunity for growth, not just for Lily, but for him as well. Every fear would no longer dictate their path, but rather provide them with directions to personal revelations. And as they came to a small clearing, Jake felt warmth unfold in his chest as the sunlight cascaded down like a golden embrace wrapping around them. This wasn't just about facing external fears, it was about confronting the weight he had carried for so long. "Hey, Dad." Lily's voice broke through his thoughts. "What if we find a way to help those other dogs together? The ones who need us?" Jake paused once again, her words resonating deep within him. He realized this was his child speaking, the embodiment of everything he wished to achieve. Together, they would forge deeper connections, not just with themselves but with the world around them. "Absolutely, Lily. Together, we'll show them they're loved. Just like us," he responded, a smile breaking through the shadows. Jake's recognition filled him with newfound confidence. Here was his purpose, the struggles he had emerged from illuminated the way forward. As father and daughter moved deeper into the wild, he felt lighter with each step, shedding the shackles of past fears. In the heart of that forest, Jake knew they had crafted the beginnings of a powerful story, one rooted in resilience, connection, and love. They were two souls weaving a narrative of healing, each step strengthening their ties, guiding them toward brighter days ahead. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Jake and Lily stood at a new threshold, ready to embrace the challenges ahead in unison. With the markings behind them resonating like an echo of their past, they stepped into the promise of possibility, united and resolute. Now was the moment one he had fought so long to reach. Jake had conquered not just the fears that haunted him but awakened a courage within that he would carry forward, hand in hand with the daughter he cherished. Today, he embraced not only the beauty of vulnerability but the strength that resides in genuine connection. The journey forward was theirs to navigate, and he dared to face whatever lay ahead. With hope ignited, they ventured forth, knowing deep down this was just the beginning of a profoundly transformed existence. You need to subscribe now to witness more incredible stories of resilience and transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and help bring these stories to life. Comment below with your reactions and theories. You'll want to share your thoughts on this emotional journey. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need a reminder that courage and connection can change everything.